Hey guys, so today I have my January wrap up, which actually was a really good reading month for me. I think it was a total of 9 books or so, but there were a few that were audiobooks and one book that I finished in the month of January that I'd actually been reading for the past few months, but overall it just was still a really good reading month. The first book that I read in the month of January and actually finished was Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas, which I have a full discussion of this book here and I'll link it in the description box below, but I absolutely loved this book. I just love the Throne of Glass series and I keep loving it more and more. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It may have been a bit like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I didn't love it as much as Queen of Shadows, but I still really loved the character development that we saw, and I really loved the side characters just so much more than I think I'd ever had before this book. There are a few problems I had with it, which I talk about in the discussion video, but I will not spoil anything for you. If you know nothing about the Throne of Glass series, just know that I really liked it. The second book that I read with my friend, well, actually I listened to it on audiobook, was You by Tearling. This book is a book I didn't expect to like as much as I did, and I only gave this book 3 out of 5 stars, although it was more like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you know anything about this book, it is about this sociopathic creep named Joe, and Joe sets his eyes on this girl named Beck, and he becomes absolutely obsessed with her. He starts stalking her, and he starts forming this relationship with her, but she has no idea what a creep he is, so you're in his head, hearing his thoughts, and it is insanely creepy, and he has insanely graphic thoughts, and it's just kind of rough to read about, but it still was a book that kept my attention, and it had me wanting to read the second book, which was Hidden Bodies, which I also read in the month of January, also with my friend. And I have to say, for Hidden Bodies, I liked it a lot more than I liked the first book, You. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I won't say anything really about this second book because I don't want to spoil what happens in the first book, but I just felt like I grew more attached to Joe in the second book, and I hadn't really been feeling that in the first book. So if you read the first book and you thought, that was really weird, I never want to read anything like that again, just maybe try giving the second book a chance because I really liked it just so much more. Now all I want to do is read about Joe, and she's not putting any books up about Joe anytime soon, which is making me really sad, but apparently she still is going to be writing a book about Joe in the future, so we have that hope. Also this month I finished the Queen of the Tearling series by Erica Johansson with the third book, The Fate of the Tearling. And I think I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I have also a discussion video for this below, so if you've read this book and you're interested in hearing my in-depth thoughts, I'll leave the link for that below. This book I really did enjoy. I think it had a good end to the series, although I definitely had some problems with the actual ending. I love the side characters in this book as well. It's like Empire of Storms and this book I think are built so much around the side characters that those are the people I actually really care about, and this book was no exception. Truly though, just a really good book. I would highly recommend you picking up this fantasy series because I don't think that it gets enough hype. I think more people should read it, so just throwing it out there. It's only 3 books long, all the books are out, like it's gonna be worth your read. Next I read Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, and this is a young adult World War II historical fiction. This actually is following a group of people, so it's not exactly like there's one main character, and they're all just trying to escape together. So they're all from different backgrounds, and they all just have different baggage that came from being involved in this war, and they've all been affected by it. And I listened to this on audiobook. The audiobook was really great. If you're thinking about listening to it, I would highly encourage you to do so. This month I also finished Having a Merry Heart in a Martha World by Joanna Weber, I'm not sure. I do have a discussion for this one as well, and I'll link it down below, but this one I did read over the span of a few months. This book is a Christian nonfiction book. It centers on the story of Mary and Martha when Jesus comes to visit them in their home and just the different responses that Mary and Martha had in regards to Jesus, but it also just has a lot of other biblical stories in it. It's mostly centered on just having intimacy with God, and I just really loved this book. I love the message of it. I'm sad that it's over because I want to keep reading it, but she does reference a lot of other books that inspired her to write this book, so I'm going to be checking out some of those in the future. And the final book that I read in the month of January was a book with the Murder Squad, and this was Descent by Tim Johnston. This book I gave 3 out of 5 stars, and I normally don't think too well of books that are 3 out of 5 stars, but this was more like an upper 3 out of 5 stars, closer to 4 stars. It's a story that I wasn't really expecting. I thought this would be more of like a fast-paced action book kind of trying to solve this mystery of this girl who just disappears in the mountains, but it actually turned out to be more of a family drama revolving around how the family kind of falls apart after, you know, the daughter, the sister just disappears, and it's their lives afterwards. So it was a little bit different from what I was expecting, but I still got what I wanted it in the end. Like, it did get a little more fast-paced at the end. Definitely had some difficulty getting into this book at first. The author wrote these flashbacks, which sometimes were as far back as 16 years, and then sometimes the flashbacks were recent, so it was really hard to keep up with the timeline. I found myself confused, and a lot of the times I didn't know who the flashbacks were pertaining to because characters' names wouldn't be stated outright. So it wouldn't be sometimes till the end of the flashback scene that I knew who the actual character was that the scene was about. So that was kind of confusing. There were a lot of moments I just felt confused reading this book, which did hinder my reading experience because when you can't understand a book, it's hard to enjoy it. But I did eventually kind of get into the rhythm of the author's writing, and I think the end kind of made up for it. So I don't necessarily think I would read another Tim Johnston book after reading this one, but it wasn't the worst thing that I've read. And that sums up the books that I've read this January. Thank you for watching and happy reading.